Character concept. Feel free to use the human fighter. Nothing crazy. Anytime magic's brought up, he doesn't like magic. Things that are elven made, he wants them. Even if he really can't use them, he wants them in his possession. If he sees somebody mistreating something elven, he talks about how they need to treat it better. The kind of guy who's there, draws a line in the sand, but anytime you get into a confrontation, he's trying to see it from the other person's point of view. But every year on the same day, he disappears and says he has something to do, and the party never thinks of it. If the party was to follow him, they would see him at a campfire with like 20 elves, laughing and drinking and talking about the good old days, the war, what happened. And then one at a time, they start disappearing. You realize that he has one magic item that conjures these images. You see, he fought in the human elf wars. He survived, and the images were of those that he killed, those that he sees as brothers now. It's his burden to carry, and he will make sure it never happens. Part 2. A jovial, joking, wonderfully charismatic bard. Think Scandalin in personality for Critical Role. Always supporting, making sure everybody's as strong as they could possibly be. And in a few fights where he has to actually do something offensive, it's scary. Like his personality shifts. And it turns out he's got Spider-Man syndrome. Let me explain. See, when he was about 15, 16, he got into a fight. And just the full fury of everything that he had came out. The other person didn't make it. He killed him. And he strove never to let that anger come out again. But because bards are super powerful, he always has the ability to be that person. It's always there on the edge, and he's always holding it back. And he's always on the verge of cracking the earth in half. And he's embarrassed when it comes out, so he jokes it away. Okay, love you, bye! Here's another one. Stop it, brain, I gotta work. Character concept number 3. A rogue of the party. One that's been there, always been, but has a reputation, a long rap sheet. So many things have been stolen, and they aren't ashamed. Yes, I stole whatever millions and millions of gold worth of it. And they are always trying to steal the journals of the other players. At some point, they might find where this rogue lives. Absolute poverty. Not a dime, family members hurting. And you find out the rogue did steal those items to get them back to the rightful owners or the rightful church or whatever. And the reason that rogue's trying to steal everybody's dream is because they don't know how to ask. See, they want to change their life. They're sick and tired of what they've been through. They're trying to break the cycle themselves. And they're trying to learn how to be a better person. And they figure if they can read the journals of their friends, they might figure it out. Because their friends are decent people, just trying to do what's right. Concept number 4. This is a researcher transfiguration wizard for a reason. Always researching. No matter what the party needs, he figures it out. Has no quorums. Very morally ambiguous. A little scary at times. But he's always there for the party. Always researching. Knows a book. Every spell book they find. No. There's always a town they don't want to go to. They'll go anywhere in the world with that party except that one town. One day after fighting a boss or a big bad, they find it in the spell book. No, yes. They work fast. They take the spellbook and run. If the party follows, they end up at the town they're always avoiding. In a room with a little child wrapped in magic, streaming about, trapped as a prisoner. They use the wish spell and free themselves from the contract. See, they always weren't a wizard. They went to wizarding school to learn magic because they were trying to break this contract from their warlock patron. Because they didn't realize that it would be their loved one trapped, their child. They've given up everything else to be here. But after that moment, they don't want to travel. They give up adventuring altogether. Because this is the hardest. Character concept number 5. Big, burly, stereotypical barbarian. He seems not to get into discussions when it comes to intellectual stuff. Doesn't seem to try at all. Laughs and runs into battles and hits things. Everybody wants him around because they feel safe around him. But if the party gets a high enough perception or has a high enough passive perception, every night before bed they see him reading from a book. Or different books. More probably different books. If it's really high, they see him smiling. If at any time they find out what that book is by stealing it or finding it or grabbing it, because he'll never admit what they are, it's advanced levels of poetry. Like William Shakespeare level of poetry. And without the translation on the other side, they understand it. They think life's worth living and it's more than just one thing. They ran away from their tribe because he was made fun of for what he knew. His intelligence is super high. His EQ is higher than his IQ. But he doesn't want to be made fun of anymore. But he still has a passion and love. He has a dream to write poetry. Character concept number 6. It doesn't matter what class as long as it's a team fight. Something in the fight. Anytime they get into any skirmish, they're up in the midst of the battle. They refuse healing. They say they don't need it. Every wound, every scar is nurtured and shown. Every other tiefling that they meet is met with hate and distrust. They'll refuse to work with any other tiefling. If the party pushes, they break and they start crying, sobbing, panically sobbing. And the reason they don't hide their demon background is because they believe they deserve everything that happens to them. And the only way to make amends for everything that they've done, that their family's done, that their blood is done, is to take the punishment and die. But they will not kill themselves. If the party offers to get a magical item to hide or disguise themselves, they refuse and they say, I deserve this. They know what the lineage of demon blood has done to the world. Even stuff the party didn't know they did. They allowed the world to take their hatred out of it. Concept number 7, an artificer. Always seems to be working on a small project that's no bigger than a small basketball. It's complex, so even if there's another artificer, they really don't understand it. They seem distracted most of the time, and most of their free time is spent on this. However, they're there, they're part of the team, they're a good friend, they're paying attention. In battle, they think outside the box, using their tinkering and others' magic, or their builds and other fighters. Integral part of the team. One day, they say Eureka, and they leave. Let's say the party doesn't follow him this time, they respect him. Not too long later, he reappears with a new construct. Things change a little bit. He is very protective of that construct. And the construct is built. He's no longer distracted with a small project because he's nowhere to be found. Because he succeeded. He found a way to put the mind of his loved one in that. Concept number 7. Doesn't matter what class or species. They go on adventures with the party. But unlike everybody in the party, they want to burn everything. If they're clearing out a hideout or dungeon or whatever it is, they just want to make sure everything's dead. There seems to be a lot of hate behind what they do. And I mean, go beyond, make sure that everything's dead. No death saving rules. Around the party, he's melancholy. He avoids deeper conversations. When the parties bring up what's wrong with the world, he always says, what can you do about it without hurting anybody? They may dig. Not too long ago, there were riots. His family's business got burned to the ground, and his parents and his siblings burned with them. He was out of town. If they dig deep enough, he says he understands why they were fighting. Everybody needs to pay for what everybody did. Because if he's going to suffer, they're going to suffer too. He lost everything, and he wants to watch the world burn for it. Character concept number 9. The royal pain. For this, you need to take Warlock and start in captivity, like prison or something. It's the quiet kid. Walking around young. If the prison does hard labor, it doesn't look like he does much of it, but he tries. He tries to fit in with people. And however the other players approach him or treat him, he seems not to mind. Then one night you hear him crying, talking, a lot of boldness, in a language you can't understand, maybe even a flash of some kind. The next morning he looks driven. He turns from quiet to mouthy and bold. You notice scabs on his fingers. An incident happens and he gets mad. Blood pours forth and his hex blade comes out. All his power is attached to this blood, and that power overrides any magic dampening that's happening. Flavor. Find out he's from a noble family who was blamed for their deaths, that they were slaughtered. When he got home, he found their body, and now he just wants... It's been a while, but character concept number 10. Opposites attract. Any racing class will do. This works awesome if somebody in the party is a relative of this PC. This PC fights hard, is always there, always doing what everybody wants, laughs, the perfect party mate. If the family's there, he's in on all the jokes, he understands everything that has happened. Nothing seems to ever break his spirit. True North compass, though. And whatever the right thing to do is what they want to do, and they will advocate for that right thing at all times. Honor is more important than anything. Your word is a demand. After a while, the party notices that the blood is different than everybody else's. Turns out it's really a doppelganger being that person. They came across them dying in a cave where the person saved the doppelganger's life. They swore that they would live their life as best as possible so they would never be forgotten and that their memory would carry on. Character concept number 11. Call this Enough is Enough. I prefer to do this with a bard, but almost any class would do, depending on what you do. Part of the group, a little gullible, maybe a little sad. Comments, take things literally, whatever. fun-loving, jovial, all over the place, happy. At some point, lots of stuff is going on. It's starting to weigh down. This is why I prefer the Bard for this. Through all of it, everything that's going on, they just get a look, a change. No more happy, jovial, angry. Let out that full power of the Bard. You'd probably understand why Bard classes are scary if you do this. As many of the enemy as you can at once. The rest of the campaign, is it worth it? What are you doing? Why have we let it go this far? Enough is enough. Watch the characters around you interact with somebody that used to be happy and go lucky. See what